All right, we are back for our 5 best bets for week 0 of the 2026 college football season. From here on out, every single Friday at noon, we're going to give you our best bets for each college football week, and it all begins right here with this 8-game schedule going forward. We're going to have 10 best bets per week, but of course, with there only being 8 games this Saturday, we're going to limit it to 5 this week. And folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more college football content here on the channel. Earlier in the week, we posted our full week 0 predictions. We're predicting every single game for the college football season, just like we did in both 2024 and 2025. So go make sure to check out our full predictions for every single game, linked in the description down below. Every Monday, we'll be posting our full predictions for each week of college football action. According to YouTube's analytics, over half of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so make sure to do so if you have not yet. MLB best bets are also daily on the channel. Greedo plays MMA, linked in the description down below. Okay, let's go. First to 5 best bets for week 0. We're gonna have to make do with what we have. Again, not a great schedule of games. There are a lot of FCS action this week, but I'm just not gonna touch it. We're gonna kick things off first with a spread pick, and yes, I'm taking the USC Trojans at home to cover 38.5 points on the San Jose State Spartans. I understand this is a lot of points to cover. It may feel daunting to start. I get it. I really think USC crushes San Jose State. As someone who has watched a lot of San Jose State football and watched them a lot last year, I just don't think they're any bit better than what they were last year. I understand there's some, San Jose State, there's some at San Jose State that feel like they are better than years past, or at least I've seen people, talk about San Jose State, how they might be, upper end of the Mountain West. I personally don't see it. And if I am proven wrong by the Spartans, then so be it. They are starting Luke Weaver at quarterback this year, of course, the backup quarterback last year for Micah Alejado over for the University of Hawaii. Obviously, Luke Weaver had the huge heroics in the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve last year over Cal. He had the game-winning touchdown pass after Alejado went down with an injury, but I don't buy San Jose State with a full season of Weaver. Weaver barely won the job in camp, or I don't want to say he barely won the job, but he did secure the starting quarterback job in camp for San Jose State. This is a very experienced college quarterback, obviously. I just don't see them having much success against USC. This line's moved a little bit since we made our full week predictions on Monday. It was 38 now, then it is now 38.5. Doesn't really affect anything that I'm thinking here. I think USC just dominates this football team. There's been a lot made about, is this Lincoln Riley's last year potentially at USC? If the Trojans aren't legit, will Lincoln Riley get the axe from SC? There's a chance, and they have given Lincoln Riley and USC the easiest first 4 games to start their season. At San Jose State this week, they've got a Friday night spot on Fox next week against Fresno State, then a home game late night against the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, and they open Big Ten play across the country, sure, but it's a very winnable spot in New Jersey against Rutgers. And then you welcome in Oregon and Washington, their former Pac-12 rivals in back-to-back weeks, before going to Happy Valley and Penn State, before Wisconsin, Ohio State, Indiana. It's a brutal schedule. And it feels like, at least what a lot of people are talking about, is Lincoln Riley either makes the playoffs this year or he's done at USC. I just don't know how they make the playoffs with this schedule. I mean, at best, SC wins 10 games. They're not going to Bloomington and winning, and I don't believe they're going to go to Penn State and win. I think Penn State's good enough to beat USC this season, especially in Happy Valley. This is a rough go of things for USC, but again, they will start the year 4-0, and I guess they'll reevaluate their season from there. They're a good team. I just don't know, again, if they can compete with the top of the Big Ten. Jaden Mavia is one of the better quarterbacks in college football. I don't want to immediately say Mavia's top 5 like some people are, but he's really great, of course. And they did lose their backup quarterback last year, not like it matters specifically this year, but Longstreet is now at LSU. He's backing up Sam Levitt. Regardless, Jaden Mavia is the guy for Lincoln Riley. He had a good year last season. I think he will improve on that this season. And I think their defense is quite decent as well. And obviously, again, I can break this down as much as you want with San Jose State and USC. USC is obviously the better football team. They just have to dominate, and they just have to essentially kick the shit out of San Jose State for this game's entirety. I do believe they will do so. You compare San Jose State's team last year to this team. There are 2 key players, obviously no longer at SJSU. They are Danny Scudero, who is now one of the top receivers for Coach Prime over at Colorado, and Walker Eget, who was their starting quarterback last year. Eget had multiple 300-plus yard games for San Jose State, and they had a losing record last year when Eget threw for more than 300 yards. Danny Scudero had 1,300 total receiving yards, and yet despite all that, San Jose State went, 4-8 last season? You lose both of those guys. They went 3-9. My goodness. They had a lot of talent, but they just couldn't put it all together. 3-9 last year. They are one of the few teams, they're the only team in college football this year playing 13 games this season, as San Jose State is taking advantage of the extra game you are allotted if you do go to Hawaii. They will take it. They are going to play Eastern Michigan and Cal Poly, and they're playing someone else non-con this year. They added an extra non-con game with their schedule because you can go if you go play at Hawaii. I don't understand why they're doing it. It makes it more difficult for them to potentially get into a bowl game. No, they don't get in still at 6 wins. They need to go over 500 to make a bowl game at 7-6. I don't know what they're doing. But you eliminate both Danny Scudero and Walker Again with those guys going to Colorado and Duke respectively. I don't know how this offense is going to be any bit better. And despite the fact they had a really good offense last season, they still went 3-9. Their defense wasn't particularly good either. They are going to struggle massively at USC. I think USC probably puts 50-something on them. I don't know if San Jose State truthfully scores more than 10. Last year, early in the season, USC beat Missouri State by 60 points. They beat Georgia Southern by 39. I think they probably put it on San Jose State as well. I know there is an argument, well, San Jose State covered last year against Arch Manning and Austin. They did cover against the Longhorns, but Texas early in the season could not figure out their offense. I think USC will be fine. I mean, last year we saw Mavia throw for 412 in week 2 against Georgia Southern. I think USC comes out firing early, and the Trojans cover the 38.5 points early against San Jose State. Let's move on now to our second best bet of the video, and we go to a 2-leg parlay. The odds are going to vary some here. It depends on just how the line moves for both TCU and Eastern Michigan, but I love the 2-leg parlay again between the Texas Christian Horned Frogs and the Eastern Michigan Eagles. I don't see how either of these two teams lose. Of course, the 2-leg parlay is strictly money lines on both sides. I don't know how TCU is losing in Ireland, and I have no idea how Eastern Michigan would lose at home to Sacramento State. We'll kick things off first with the first game of the 2026 FBS college football season in Dublin, Ireland, between the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Texas Christian Horned Frogs. Of course, it is year 2 of Bill Belichick at Chapel Hill. I don't know how well it's going to turn out for him this year. But never forget, right, the first drive last year for North Carolina at home and in Chapel Hill to score in the first possession against TCU, they went up 7-0, and then from there, they got outscored 48-7 by TCU, and now Indiana Hoosiers starting quarterback in Josh Hoover. TCU, of course, turns for Max Johnson on to Gio Lopez last season to now their starting quarterback in 2026. That is the veteran Billy Edwards Jr., former Wisconsin Badger, former Maryland Terrapin. He is now the starting quarterback for Bill Belichick here in the ACC. It's going to be an uphill climb all year long for North Carolina, and it starts immediately. Texas Christian is significantly the better team here, and it's not even close in my opinion. Yes, you lose Josh Hoover. I understand. It is what it is. Again, Hoover, I think, is going to have a really great season. I think he's going to have a great year in Indiana. Jaden Craig now takes over the starting quarterback role for TCU. Former Harvard Crimson starting quarterback, the Montclair, New Jersey native, transfers to TCU for his senior season. He was really good the last 2 years in the Ivy. 25 touchdowns in 2025, 23 touchdowns in 2024, only 3 picks in 2024 as well. 62% completion rate last season for Craig. I think it's going to translate enough to the Big 12. I really liked his tape from what I watched in the FCS. And again, going from the Ivies, which is a non-scholarship league, obviously, to the Big 12 is significant, but I don't think UNC is that great this season. I'm looking at their roster. I am not all that impressed. TCU should roll them just like they did last year. And I don't think playing the game in Ireland, I don't think it does UNC many favors either. I mean, last year, again, different rosters. Sure, Josh Hoover was still on TCU last season. Gio Lopez now at Wake Forest, former quarterback, obviously, for North Carolina. He goes from South Alabama to UNC over to Wake Forest, staying in the ACC. But that game was in Chapel Hill last year. It was a perfect scenario for Bill Belichick in North Carolina. And again, that first drive, I'll never forget. I started to actually believe. I was thinking, oh, wow, Bill's actually a wizard. He's a genius. And we all know, right? Belichick was just carried by Tom Brady to 6 Super Bowls, which was evident, of course, when Brady won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. But that's neither here or there. I just don't know how this college thing works for Bill. I'm kind of cheering for him, but I just don't see a world where they beat TCU. I think TCU probably covers the points, but for the purpose of the parlay, give me TCU for the first leg, and for the second leg, give me the Eastern Michigan Eagles out of the MAC. So it is a conference game here in Week 0 for the Mid-American Conference, as yes, Sacramento State and Eastern Michigan are now conference rivals. These two teams are playing in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and I think Sacramento State's going to get boat raced here. I think EMU probably wins the game by at least 2 scores, at least 2 touchdowns, honestly. That's probably the damage Eastern Michigan is going to do at home here. Noah Kim, veteran quarterback, returns this year for EMU. Experienced player who started in the Big Ten with Michigan State, transferred to Coastal Carolina last season, or sorry, 2 seasons ago. Last year, his first season at EMU, he gets a 5th year this season. I understand his 2025 isn't great on paper. Well, 2,800 yards is nice, 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Noah Kim felt like the best player for most of the season, at least on that Eastern Michigan offense. But really, the difference in this game is not what EMU is going to do. It's not what Noah Kim is going to do. It is specifically Sacramento State. I really struggle to find out how they're going to score this year. They're going to have to rely on their run game. They've had good running backs at Sacramento State in the past. Last year, former Pitt transfer Rodney Hammond was their running back. Years ago, they had Cam Scadaboo here at Sacramento State as well. I mean, 2022, Scadaboo ran for over 1,300 yards. I actually watched Scadaboo play in 2022 over in Sacramento. This year, we'll see who they really, we'll see what makes of their backfield. The big thing I'm looking at, though, is Carson Conklin. With all due respect, I don't think Carson Conklin's that great. I watched Carson Conklin quite a bit last season at Fresno State, right? They opted to start Conklin halfway through the season. They had E.J. Warner as their starting quarterback. They sat down Warner for Conklin. EJ was dealing with injuries at the time as well, but they eventually make the move to Conklin. Conklin was so bad they had to go back to EJ Warner reluctantly, even though Warner was not putting up the greatest numbers. They needed to go back to him because Carson Conklin, simply put, just couldn't move the football. Now, this is a familiar spot for Conklin. He was the quarterback of Sacramento State 2 years ago in the FCS. Was at Sac in both 2023 and 2024, redshirted in 23, played, of course, and started in 24 for Sac State. Put up 2,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, 8 picks. Again, that was enough to get him that ride to Fresno State and become the backup quarterback last year in the Mountain West. But now, of course, he rejoined Sacramento State now just as an FBS program. It's different, man. I don't think we can expect Carson Conklin, the 2024 Carson Conklin, to show up. He got a taste of FBS football last year, didn't really work out well for him, and now he's got to play in the MAC with the team that's going to travel back and forth every single week from the Midwest all the way back to Sacramento, California. I think it's going to be a very big struggle for this team, and I really think Carson Conklin sets their passing game back because I was never impressed last year at Fresno State. I mean, he was, he had a 49% completion rate, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 354 yards in about 3 games of action. Not sold. I think EMU runs right over Sacramento State. I just don't believe the roster Sac State has right now can compete with teams in the MAC. In the future, yes, they're going to continue to get more and more funding in Sacramento. This year, though, I just don't think they're going to be that great. I'm going to go EMU and TCU with our 2-leg parlay at about minus 145 odds. I would play this truthfully up to minus 160. I don't think either of these teams lose. On to our third best bet of the video. We move to a player prop. I don't know how often we're going to do player props, right? When we get a larger slate of games, there's going to be a ton of games that I like on a weekly basis. But here, I'm going to go to a player prop for the starting quarterback of the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. It is Caden Creel. And no, we're not looking at, over 79.5 passing yards, not even close. We're looking at pure rushing yards for Caden Creel in this game. This is a line Caden Creel passed in his last 5 games last year in the regular season for the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, including the COSA championship game. He is the offense, 100%. This is a guy in Caden Creel who took the starting job last year from former Rutgers transfer in Gavin Wimsatt. Creel becomes the guy, and he was great last year. Sure, Cam Cook was also a huge factor in their run game last year as Cam Cook led all of Division I college football, Division I FBS college football in rushing yards with over 1,600. But there's a reason Caden Creel took the job from former Rutgers, and I forgot, Kentucky quarterback too in Wimsatt. He was a slightly better passer than Wimsatt, but also he could take off way faster than Wimsatt could as well. And the offense that Jack State runs, it favored Wimsatt a lot, but Caden Creel has got this down to a T. Again, he's not going to be the best passer of the football. They will look to catch you off guard at times with the passing game, but primarily this is a team that's looking to run the football. And they are going to give the rock to their best player, and their best player right now is no longer Cam Cook. He has graduated. It is by far Caden Creel. And you look at the last 5 games Caden Creel plays in 2025 for Jacksonville State. You look at a game at UTEP, 13 carries, 134 yards. A game against Kennesaw State, a team that they're going to rematch in the CUSA Championship. Against Kennesaw the first time out, 14 carries, 127 yards for Creel. Next up in Miami against FIU, really weird game that Jack State lost, by the way. Creel, 19 carries, 100 yards. Next game against WKU, they needed to win to secure a spot in the CUSA Championship. Creel, 20 carries, 143 yards. CUSA Championship game against Kennesaw, 18 carries, 112 yards. I'm not going to talk about what happened in the Salute to Veterans Bowl. Just know he went under, but it's fine, okay? For a majority of the season, Creel is going over this line. I mean, really, in the games that he started, he had only 3 where he went under the line we get here of 79.5. I mean, Caden Creel had games early in the season in back-to-back outings against USM, Southern Miss, and Sam Houston, 23 carries for 161 yards and 24 carries for 132 yards. Those were in back-to-back games for Caden Creel. And I just have to imagine without Cam Cook now on this team, and sure, they're going to still run the ball a lot. They have 3 backs. They're going to get quite a bit of run for Jacksonville State this season. But still, significantly, their best player is going to be Creel, and I have to imagine his volume and his rushing attempts are going to go through the roof this season. This is his junior year. I'd have to imagine he'll probably be back next year as well. Of course, you never know with college football, but they are going to feed him at will. And I think it's going to do him wonders. I think it's going to do Jacksonville State wonders, as they're one of the better teams in the CUSA. I'm not going to get too far deep into the CUSA this season, or at least right now. Of course, we're going to talk about every team every single week coming up. But I mean, why wouldn't they almost be the favorites to win this thing? I mean, do we expect Kennesaw to put up another crazy miracle Cinderella season like last year? Obviously, WKU, Western Kentucky, is always going to be in the mix. Is Liberty going to bounce back last year? A very disappointing last season for the Flames. We shall see. But honestly, if I had to bet on any team currently right now to win this USA, I'm taking Jack State. I do believe they're that good, and I think Caden Creel is going to be the biggest reason towards that. Now, they are playing North Dakota State here. I think this is going to be a competitive game. I think what Jack State does is going to be very effective in the first ever FBS football game for North Dakota State, of course, from the Fargo Dome. NDSU, right, one of the powerhouses. Sorry, no, they are the powerhouse from the FCS, right? Crazy starting quarterbacks out here, just to name a few. I mean, they've had a couple in recent years, but the big names, of course, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, Easton Stick. They produce talent. They produce NFL talent in Fargo, North Dakota. This is a tough first test for them. The game that Jack State plays is difficult. They run the ball right at you. They've got a quick quarterback in Caden Creel. He's not afraid to try to run you over at the same exact time, and that clock is always running against Jack State. But Creel's going to get at least 15 carries in this game. I think he'd probably get more. I mean, let's just say he does get 15 carries in this game. He'd have to average 5 yards a carry. The way Creel runs and the way Creel scrambles too, because some of these rushing attempts obviously are created through pass plays that just get broken down. Yeah, he's going to go over this quite easily, I think. I honestly think 79.5 is a gift here. I mean, unless NDSU is just, significantly better than, I don't know. I mean, there were teams in the CUSA last year that did not have bad run defenses, and Creel just ran through them. Like Kennesaw had a pretty decent run D last year. Creel, 127 yards against them. Second game, 112 yards against them. I understand. NDSU is an FCS powerhouse. It is a different game when you come up to the FBS. I'm not saying NDSU is going to lose this game, by the way, but it's going to be competitive. I think Jack State covers, likely with a victory to the Bison, but at the very least, Creel is going to go over this line. He is the heart and soul of not just this Jack State team, but the offense as well. I did the wrong way around. Not just the offense, but the entire team. You get my point. Give me Caden Creel over 79.5 rushing yards on the road in Fargo, North Dakota against the North Dakota State Bison. On to our 4th best bet of the video. Let's go on to Stanford, California, Palo Alto, California to be specific, as we've got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and the Stanford Cardinal. I'm going to take 2 here. We don't have a graphic for the second one, but hear me out. Take Hawaii plus 3.5. Open at 4.5, I believe, or 5.5. That's fine. I'm cool at 3.5. We get plus 100 for 3.5. Sign me up. Give me that, and also give me Hawaii money line. Give me both. I think they're going to go to Stanford and win. I don't think Stanford's good at all. We went over this early in the week. They did nothing in the transfer portal other than pick up Davis Warren. Which, okay, you get a veteran quarterback. I understand Davis Warren's played in some big football games in the past. He goes from the big house in Michigan, does not play in 2025. Okay, now he's the starting quarterback of the Stanford Cardinal. Stanford goes back-to-back seasons of opting to start veteran quarterbacks, at least in college football. Last year, it was the former Oregon State Beaver and Ben Goldbranson. This year, it's the 24-year-old graduate student Davis Warren. Okay, I get what Andrew Luck's going for here, but I would have liked Stanford to improve, I don't know, the other 21 positions on the field. I mean, they've got 3 transfers starting. One is Davis Warren. And if this is a powerhouse, and if this is one of the better teams in the ACC, or obviously not an ACC school, an SEC powerhouse, a Big Ten powerhouse, I wouldn't question it. But even then, like, for example, I'll bring up a random school. Let's say Indiana. Let's say Indiana didn't improve at all at their portal. I'd be thinking, okay, what are we doing? Sure, you had a great team last year, but there's always a desire to add in college football. There's always a need for something. Stanford didn't add anything, and they were not good last season. There is a reason Stanford has been picked quite a bit to finish last this season in the ACC, and why wouldn't they? They didn't do anything in the offseason, and last year, I mean, other than add a quarterback, but I mean, is Davis Warren going to improve this team all that much from Ben Gulbranson? Ben Gulbranson, really struggled to start the season, kind of came into his own as the season wore on. Are they going to be all that better? I don't think so. Elijah Brown looked a lot better at the end of the season compared to Ben Gulbranson. Stanford does not bring back Elijah Brown. He goes to Washington. He'll be backing up Damon Williams for this year, maybe 2 years. Who knows what the hell happens with Damon Williams? Of course, the controversy around him in the offseason discussing stuff. Regardless, Stanford won 4 games last year. Yeah, they got Cal. Okay, they beat Florida State at home because FSU last year and Thomas Castellanos. Oh my goodness. They beat San Jose State by 1 point, and they got by Turbo Richard in BC. Okay, great. They lost to Hawaii in week 1 last year. Gulbranson really struggled in that game. I think Davis Warren's going to struggle here too. I understand he's played some really big-time schools in the Big Ten with Michigan. You get Micah Ford back. He's going to be massive in the run game this year for the Cardinal. I think they're going to struggle. And also, again, on top of the plus 3.5 for Hawaii, give me the plus 155 in the money line. Micah Alejado, man. How about Micah Alejado? One of the best G5 quarterbacks in college football. What a season he had last year. And sure, Hawaii would get into these crazy shootouts at times, 100%, where they'd lose and still score 35 points, and Alejado would still throw for 300-plus yards. They had those games. The big ones, the one that they played at San Jose State, where they scored 38 points. Alejado throws for 367, and they still lose. I get it. This is a good football team. They will be without their starting receiver, their top receiver in Ashlock this week. That's fine. It's all about Mike Alejado. They have receivers for days. Of course, you'd love to have Ashlock in this week. I'm okay with it still. I mean, you know what Hawaii's going to do? They're going to throw the ball a million times. They're going to drop Alejado back, and he's going to continue to sling it the entire game. That's fine. That's what they do. I don't think Stanford's able to stop them throughout the course of 60 minutes. Guys, if Stanford went to the brink last year at home against San Jose State, the same exact thing's going to happen against Hawaii. Why I mentioned San Jose State, not the Hawaii game from last year, is, well, A, Stanford went to Hawaii last year, and B, San Jose State last year, explosive offense, good quarterback in Walker Eget, very different build than Mike Alejado, I will tell you. Eget, very tall guy, right? Alejado, somewhat short. How tall is Alejado? Alejado might be 6 feet tall, truthfully. Nope, he's 5'10". That makes sense. Okay. Alejado's like Alejado 5'10", Eget's like 6'4", but still a good quarterback, and you've got good receivers throughout on Hawaii. Just like how obviously San Jose State last year had Danny Scudero. I think Hawaii puts it on Stanford. I don't think Stanford's ready to keep up with this team for 60 minutes. And, that lasting image of Hawaii last year in the Hawaii Bowl coming back and beating California, a team who obviously did lose to Stanford, but you can't continue to play football math like that. It doesn't always equate to the right results. I like Hawaii in this spot. Are they going to win the Mountain West? Probably not. Travel's going to catch up to them eventually. But in week 0, not really concerned about the travel. Week 0, you've been prepping all off season. You've been prepping for months now. Okay, we're going to walk into Palo Alto. We are going to try to beat Stanford. We're going to beat Stanford. They've been prepping for this for months. This isn't a week 7 game where, we just went to Arizona State. We came back home, and now we got to go to NIU. That's a real path. That's a real 3-game slate and a 3-week slate for Hawaii later in the season. No, it is. It is. We are tunnel focused on Stanford right now. We are going to beat Stanford, and then you deal with whatever UNLV comes to Hawaii next week. I mean, the hits keep on coming for the Rainbow Warriors from here. I like Hawaii here. I like them in both ways. I like the spread. I do like the money line as well. I think the Rainbow Warriors get it done, and I just don't think Stanford's offense is able to compete with Micah Alejado and the Rainbow Warriors. Moving on now to, we actually have 2 more best bets. We have 2 bonus bets today. We did 4 best bets for this week. I'll be honest, guys, I'm not going to force a play on a UNLV minus 4.5 or on an NC State plus 5. I just don't want to force those. Again, full predictions and a reasoning and whatnot, if you want to hear the FSU game as well, are linked in the description down below. We're going to be taking a look at 2 futures to close the video, the first of which being Texas Tech under 10.5 wins at plus 145. They're dropping 2 games this year. I don't love the Thomas Castellanos pickup. Obviously, they were, their hand was kind of forced on this one with the Brendan Sorbsy controversy. I have an opinion about that. I don't know if I should give that. I don't know. I kind of felt like Sorbsy should have kept playing. It is what it is. They scramble. They have to pick up Thomas Castellanos. I don't think Castellanos is going to start next week. I'd have to think that's going to be Will Hammond. Hammond is healthy. They've been expecting Hammond to be the starter, but they've been looking for a veteran quarterback. Hammond is still only a sophomore, definitely going to be the guy next year, right? Will Hammond has gotten, he's gotten in the last couple seasons in games, right? With Baron Morton's injuries in the past. Obviously, they don't feel confident enough in Will Hammond, so they think they have to go to Castellanos. Here's the truth, guys. I don't think Thomas Castellanos is very good, and I understand you want experience, you want a veteran-type guy in there. I think I'd roll with Will Hammond instead. I don't think Castellanos is that good. He had a great year at BC a couple seasons ago. He went to FSU and he regressed like crazy. I get it. We've seen quarterbacks go to FSU and regress too, right? I mean, DJ Uyunglele was never, that next guy in the Trevor Lawrence Clemson lineage. I understand. But he was not bad at Oregon State. He comes to FSU and DJU is a big joke throughout the college football community that season. Thomas Castellanos was a good quarterback at BC in 24. But in 2025, when he went to FSU, he kind of regressed back into the Thomas Castellanos we saw starting in 2023 for Boston College. Sure, Castellanos had his moments. They won some big games last year. They opened the season beating Alabama and Tallahassee. I understand that. I don't think they put together 11 wins. They were great last year, Texas Tech. Of course, they did not lose a game until they lost in the Orange Bowl to the Oregon Ducks. I get it. Sorry, I forgot they lost to Arizona State. Everyone loses in Tempe. But still, they went 11-1 in the regular season. I understand. I think they're going under here. I'm looking at the schedule. Who are the two teams they lose to? Guys, I think they lose 3. I don't know if that's crazy. I think they lose 3. I think they go to Cincinnati. I think they get beat. I understand Cincinnati's lost some guys. Sorbsy, I understand. I think they get beat at Cincinnati. I think they do. I think they go to Oklahoma State and get beat. And I think they'd go to Baylor and get beat too. TCU might get them on a short week as well. Those are 4 games. I don't know which 3 it's going to be. We only need 2. I think OK State's getting them. OK State is going to beat Texas Tech this year. Who's going to be the other one? At Baylor, short week against TCU to close the season on Thanksgiving. That could get you. I think that's on Thanksgiving. There are tough games for this team. At Colorado, Houston at home could be kind of tricky. Oregon State's going to be a crafty team, I think, in week 2 in Corvallis. We'll see. They're going to lose 3 games this year, I think. I think they're going to. We just need them to lose too, but I think at the value, and especially that, okay, they've shown that they have no confidence in Will Hammond. They want to go to Castellanos, so you're bringing in a guy who has been with your team for a week, and now he's going to start in week 2 in Corvallis. They're probably still going to beat Oregon State, but the games are going to catch up to these guys in the Big 12. Their defense is not as good as they were last season. You lose Baron Morton, who is phenomenal. You don't get Brendan Sorbsy. Don't think they're the same team. Yeah, they got a lot of money in the portal. I don't think they're as good as last season. I think the Big 12 is going to catch up to them a little bit here. Give me the under on the wins this year, under 10.5 for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. To our final best bet, again, we have 2 futures. I had to do it. We're taking the under 10.5 on Texas Tech. We're taking the over 10.5 on the Hoosiers. I believe they're winning it all again. I don't know if Josh Hoover is going to win the Heisman like Fernando Mendoza did. I think they're going all the way again this season. I understand it's hard to repeat, and it's hard to go 16-0 like the Hoosiers did last year. They got better. I understand. They downgraded at the quarterback position because there was going to be nobody in college football that would have been an upgrade from Fernando Mendoza. So Josh Hoover has huge shoes to fill. They got better pretty much every other position. They got better. They're bringing back 3 starting linemen from last year. I liked Roman Hemby. I liked Kalen Black quite a bit. Turbo Richard this season? Yes, losing Elijah Surratt sucks. I understand. Losing Omar Cooper, awful. Omar Cooper was great last season. Welcome in Shaz Preston, who had phenomenal years at Tulane. He was great at Tulane. Bring him in. I think he's going to be nasty. I really like Nick Marsh from Michigan State. They've got guys. They're going to be okay. This line, nasty. Defense, it's better. So many returners in the defense. Yeah, no D'Angelo Pons this season. That's fine. They've got talent for days. Curt Cignetti is building a dynasty in Bloomington. Bloomington is the new Bama, and they're going to continue to win. They are going to be a perennial powerhouse now in college football. And Josh Hoover is going to be good, man. He's not Mendoza. He's not. But he's going to be pretty nasty. And you look at, the Hoosiers need to win 11 games out of the 12. Who are the 2 teams they lose to? Okay, they're going to start. This is for sure. They're starting the year 6-0. North Texas, Howard, Western Kentucky, Northwestern, Rutgers, Nebraska. They're not dropping any of those. At home against Ohio State, I'm saying victory. At Michigan, win. Minnesota, win. USC at home, win. At UW, win. Purdue, win. 12-0. What's the game they're most likely to lose? Truthfully, I believe it is Ohio State at home. Ohio State played them tough last year. They played them tough in Indianapolis for the Big Ten Championship, but Charlie B from Nashville came through. They're back at home again against Ohio State, and this isn't like, they played Ohio State in 2023 in Bloomington at Memorial Stadium, and, that game was actually relatively competitive. Ohio State only won by 15 points, 14 points with Marvin Harrison and Kyle McCord. It's different now. I mean, Memorial Stadium, they're going to continue to renovate that thing. They're going to continue to make the capacity bigger out there. This is a powerhouse football school now. Yes, Assembly Hall is great. I love college basketball. I love watching the Hoosiers sometimes play college basketball. It is a different game now. This is a football school. I just don't see them losing 2 games this year. The game they would lose, I think, would be Ohio State. If not at Michigan, I'm not concerned about the 2 West Coast teams. I don't care. Oh, they got to go to Seattle. I may run right through Washington. USC coming into Indiana. No, that's USC coming into Indiana after an Ohio State game. They're going to struggle. They're going to go 6-0 off the bat. It's just how do they deal with those final 6 games? I think they go 12-0 again, personally. That's just my feelings on this. Hoosiers. Indiana over 10.5 wins this year at -105. Folks, that does it for our Week 0 best bets here for the college football season. We'll be back next Friday for more best bets every week at noon. And, of course, we'll see you again on Monday. Monday every single week, 4 p.m. for our college football predictions this week, predicting every single Week 1 game. They'll probably be 4 hours, but buckle in. We'll be on that in just a couple days. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba